And a few that we want to highlight: peak level advisors. We absolutely thank you, Brother Turner, for being just what you do in this program. Our community sponsors that we wanted to highlight: legal aid. Oh, by the way, make sure you're on the second page in your program so you can see these sponsors. Legal aid, and if you don't know about legal aid, you should look at it. It's free services that Cobb County offers so that you can learn a little bit. If you're needing to deal with some lawyers, they can direct you and give you some advice. And we are partnering with our Goodwill here and more so off of South Cobb. Goodwill does more than just sell, discounted clothing to help individuals or furniture. There's a lot of programs. You're trying to start a business, they can help you with that. You're trying to get a career, a lot of education on technology. And again, the word is free. So you want to take advantage. We have Walker Law, which we were so, last night, it was good information that Anitra provided in regards to wills and trusts. So she's out in the back, so make sure you see her at the end of this particular session. And I have to highlight, it's so important that we thank Avis, who has been a sponsor since the very beginning. Pastor just stated it's 14 years that we've had this program, and Avis has been with us. And do notice in the book, there is a discount code. It's for Turner Chapel, so whether you're a member or not, take advantage of the discount that they have when you're traveling. And we have a new sponsor that's helping us with the travel this year, and they gave Turner Chapel a huge discount. When you're flying out, Wiley Park is where you want to park. This QR code here, download, get your app. They're giving us 30% off of parking. 30%. Thank you, Alex. That's huge. No, this is ongoing. And the best part about it, if for some reason you are somewhere else and you have to park it's at any Wiley Park. So it's not just here. But we know we leave out of here. So tell your family, tell your friends, let them download when they come to see you. They can park at their Wiley Park. Southwest Airlines is a new sponsor for us. And so they gave us some upgrades last night. So those who travel, you're not A-list, they had a chance to win during the Financial Family Feud. So we had 5 of our winners. They were upgraded to A-list, so they don't have to wait in line anymore or try to check in 24 hours early. They good. I know Bobby wanted that. You didn't get it. I'm sorry. And the last sponsor, all of these are our sponsors, but I'm just highlighting a few. Wings on Wheels is the new sponsor. This is a community business, family-owned business that's located off of Whitlock and Burnt Hickory, right behind the racetrack. I want you guys to go see it. I'm very proud of the young man that started it, Marietta High School graduate. Go see them. The food is good. Got the best macaroni and cheese. I know it's like wings, but they're macaroni and cheese. Ugh. It's delicious. I would like you to open up. Everybody's looking at their sponsorship page? Okay. If on your booklet, do you have a dollar sign? Anybody has a dollar sign on their booklet? Okay. Y'all have that many? No. On this page. You have one? You have one? Anybody else? I have 2. 3. You have one? Not on the booklet, but in the booklet. Okay. So our wonderful sponsors from Wings on Wheels, they have provided 3 gift cards. So go try them out, and please, thank you guys for being here. And if you know a business that would really like to be a part of this program, just send them to me. Thank you. Oh my goodness. Y'all know our biggest sponsor is here. Oh my goodness. Don't you make me mess up. State Farm. Oh my goodness. Natalie, girl, if you're watching via the internet, I'm human, not AI. Listen, State Farm, y'all know the theme song, Like a Good Neighbor. and they are really here with us, like here. Brittany's here to represent. Come on up, Brittany. State Farm has also been a strong supporter of us, not just with the FEC, but in other things that we've done here at Turner Chapel. And we really appreciate Natalie Reed and her State Farm agency. And I have Brittany here. I want her to represent. So when you guys enjoyed that Chick-fil-A biscuit, the snacks, it's State Farm. They have been our breakfast and snack sponsors for years, and we appreciate it so much. Brittany, I just really want you to come and just share a little bit about Natalie Reed's State Farm Agency. Come on up, girl. Yes.
Hello, how's everyone? My name is Brittany. I'm the office manager for Natalie Reed State Farm. We are located in Marietta, Georgia. Basically, we're here to offer a review of your insurance policies to see if you're getting the best coverage for the best rate, because we love to save people money, at least try. And we also offer financial services and retirement planning. So whether you want to protect your future or just save a couple dollars on your insurance rates, we are here to help. Thank you.
Where are you located?
Marietta, Georgia. I said we are located in Marietta, Georgia.
Yes, they're located in Marietta, Georgia, off of Powder Springs Road in Macklin.
In Macklin, yes.
I want to give you points of interest.
Well, thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. So since Brittany got a chance to come up, Anitra, you can come up so they can see you as well. Anitra Walker with Walker Law. She's also here. Some of the sponsors that you heard from, they were not able to be present with us, but Anitra is here. So both Brittany and Anitra will be outside the chapel after the program ends. So if you want to speak to them, feel free to do so. Thank you. All right, so what we're going to do now is move into our kind of preview of upcoming attractions before the panel begins, but I want to just share a couple of additional remarks if I could. Let me extend, as Pastor gave the welcome, my thanks to everyone who is here. Welcome to those who are members of this church. Those who are not members, we welcome you here as well and hope that we will see you again. Thank you so much to our panel who will be with us shortly, and my co-chair Bobby who will be moderating. Thank you to our virtual moderators in the back, Cheryl Epps and Stephanie Taylor. They are interacting with our virtual audience, so I'm sure they are being well taken care of. This is the 14th year, as you have heard, of our conference series, and I know the time has really flown by. I remember when we started this in 2012, and it's hard to believe we're already this far into it, but we've done a lot over these years, and hopefully everyone has benefited from the programs that we have had. Each year, we have a particular focus area, and you already heard it, making money while you sleep, which in a lot of ways, that's really the whole point of kind of managing your money so that at some point, you don't have to do the work to make your money work for you. So that's really what this is all about. Has anyone heard the name John Hope Bryant? He's very well known on the internet. He has all kinds of social media presence, but he has this statement that you make money during the day, you build wealth in your sleep. That's kind of what we knocked off to get the theme for this year, making money while you sleep. Because some people feel like if I make a good salary, good income, I'm good. Well, you're good as long as you can do that. There may come a day when you can't do that as easily anymore, and you want to still be able to live the lifestyle that you want. So that's basically what we're trying to promote today, and our panel will speak to that, and we'll be having programs throughout the year, which you'll hear more about. Pastor lifted up our theme scripture, which is Mark 4:26 and 27, and you see that on your workbook cover. But I want to also point you to another piece of scripture because yes, we are a financial program, but we're also a financial ministry because we are rooted in God's word. And we had Bible study last fall that Pastor led and some other presenters, including Brother Ernie over here, presented during that series. And it was on Matthew chapter 25. If you heard the story, the manager or it was the bags of gold is basically the parable For us old school folks, you may have heard the parable of the talents. That's what I grew up with, but it's the bags of gold. So in that parable, for those who don't know it, there was a gentleman who was going to be leaving town. He had servants, and he gave his servants some of his money to hold, in theory. He gave one 5 bags, he gave another 2 bags, he gave another 1 bag. And when he came back from his travels, he asked his servants, "What have you done with my money?" The one who had the 5 bags made 5 more. The one who had the 2 bags made 2 more. We won't talk about the one with the 1 bag because he didn't do what he was supposed to do. But the point being, he was making money, not really while he was sleeping, while he was out of town. Same concept. But that's basically what we are intending to promote here, is that you don't have to work for your money if you have ways to make your money work for you. And that's really the point of it all. So the master did not have to put in the work, but the money increased in value by letting someone else, through their labor, whatever that may have been, we don't know, but that actually made money for him. And that's what we want to be in a position to do as well. So if you can get to the place where your money is constantly working for you and it makes enough, you don't have to be the one that's putting in the labor to make it happen. We heard a little bit about that as well last night from our speaker at Fun Night, Chike Uzoka. He talked about a lot of different ways that you can also make your money work for you. So please take that to heart, and as you learn more today, don't just take the knowledge in, but remember to do something with it, because that really is our motto: know better, do better. It's good to know, but it's more important to do, okay? So during the conference today, as you participate, you're going to learn different things, and it will hopefully help you to be more effective in making your money work for you. I did want to highlight a couple of additional recognitions. We did an early registration incentive this year. So we have 3 people who won, and I don't know if they're all present, but I'll give their names if they're not present, or if they're online. You can put in the chat that you're online, because we want to make sure that we get you your prize. So the 3 winners of our early registration prize are Sharon Hampton. Is Sharon here? I don't see her. You may know her as Gail. Miranda Banks and Jerry Doherty. I know Jerry was going to be a virtual participant, so I'm sure she's not here with us in person. But those winners will get the option to choose, and I have a list here that I will either send to them if they're not here, or give to them in their hands. They can choose an offer from one of our sponsors or one of our panelists. So we have offers from Alex Cater, who you'll hear from on the panel, Cater Investment Group. He's offering a free consultation. Also, Corey Ferguson is offering a free consultation from T. Dallas Smith Commercial Real Estate. And Renisha Davis, she has 3 different offerings that you can choose from depending on where you're at. If you're a business owner, there's a 30-minute, 60-minute, or 90-minute consultation that you can get from her. Her offerings are up to a $697 value. You will get that for free for one of those 3 winners. And then from our sponsors, we have from State Farm, a retirement planning review. From Peak Level Advisors, my company, you can choose either a retirement readiness analysis or an employer retirement plan analysis. And then from Anitra Walker, we also have a 30-minute estate planning strategy session that you can take advantage of. So for those 3 who won the early registration prize, you will get to choose from one of those options. We also offered this to people who filled out our survey to help us populate the Family Feud questions and answers. And those winners were Jasmine Coleman, Yolanda Traylor, and Denise Palmer. So I don't know if any of those folks are here. If they're not, we'll get them the information as well. So we appreciate everyone who took advantage or participated in our incentives. Now with that, want to kind of walk you through your workbook, make sure you understand what is in here. So we'll start with Our sponsors, which you already have seen them highlighted, that's on the first page. So again, all their contact information is there. If you want to take advantage of what services and products they have to offer, please do so. Please support those who support you. The schedule for the weekend on page 3 was the fun night last night, which I will note, the winner of our Financial Family Feud game was, for the second year in a row, a team that got formed that night. It wasn't a team that was already planning to participate. It was a team led by Reverend Carlton Dunstan. So they just called themselves the Dunstan team. And as Tawana mentioned, they are going to get a Southwest Airlines upgrade as well as complimentary rent-a-car service from Avis. So we're going to get you those passes in the next few days. So congratulations to the Dunstan team. Winners of the Reverend Phyllis T. Ailes Fun Night Championship, which is named after our original conference chair, Reverend Phyllis Ailes, who left us some years ago, but we will never forget her. On the following page is the schedule for today, which includes the agenda that we're going through right now. At the bottom, you'll notice there is a QR code for the evaluation. You should have a hard copy of that or should have gotten that with your workbook. So we ask that you will fill that out before you leave today and turn that in at the registration table. If you want to do it online, just use the QR code and you don't have to write anything. On page 5 and 6, we have the bios for the members of our panel, and you'll hear more about them when they come up very shortly. Page 7 is our conference series preview. We're going to have a video queued up in just a few moments that will give you some highlights as to what's coming for the rest of the year. On page 8, it highlights our online course, which is something we started 2 years ago now. That was our pilot program. It's called Manage Your Cash and Grow Your Stash. So it's both education, but it's also encouraging people to save money, build their cash reserves, emergency funds, and we, as we say, put our money where our mouth is because we help to match the funds that you put in on your own. So that program is going to start a little bit later this year. We started it like in April the last couple of years. We're going to push that off until summer this year because it's really a program that is built for kind of early career folks, and we're wanting our young adults to take advantage of it, and they have kind of a summit coming up in the summer. We're going to talk about it then. But if you are interested in participating, please email us at fec@turnerchapelame.org. We will put you on the waiting list because we have limited slots available. So take advantage of that. Then on page 9 and 10, we have an action plan worksheet because, again, we're not just learning what to know, we're learning what to do. So the action plan is to help you assess where you stand in different areas, and if you need to make some improvements, it just gives you a way to make a note of the things that you should be working on throughout the course of the year. On page 11 is our conference planning team. We'll hear more about them when I do my closing remarks at the end, but thank you to everyone on our team who does just a fantastic job and all the volunteers who work with us. And then there's a place for you to make some notes during the course of the day at the very end. So that's what's in your workbook. So please use that, and we encourage you to keep a hold of it, use it throughout the year, because I know I go to a lot of conferences, and it's one thing to get great information while you're there, get excited, but then life happens. So you want to keep this stuff in front of you, make some points of the things that you know you really need to be working on so that you can be intentional about dealing with those on an ongoing basis. At this point, I will ask Carmelita in the back to go ahead and play our conference series preview.
We are so glad you are attending this year's Financial Empowerment Conference, and we hope you've now started thinking about what you can do to benefit from making money while you sleep. Most of us trade our time to earn money to live during our working years. But wouldn't it be nice to not have to work to make money? That's the focus of what we'll be covering during this 14th year of the Financial Empowerment Conference Series, helping you to identify ways to create passive income. We're planning to bring back members of our panel to lead webinars in their area of expertise in order to take a deeper dive into the requirements and how-tos of setting yourself up for success. For these sessions, we'll be collaborating with the Dream Lifters Ministry to do a series of webinars geared towards building a business enterprise that can lead you towards creating passive income. Included in that series will be a webinar on how you can pool your money with other like-minded people to raise the level of capital needed to purchase commercial real estate, which may allow you to generate a higher level of income than you may be able to get with residential investment real estate. In another session, we'll discuss how even if you don't feel like you're cut out to run a business, you can still profit from a business's operations with our webinar on leveraging your capital to invest in businesses. This webinar will help you understand how you can be a financial engine for a business that's capable of being profitable but needs access to funds to realize their potential. And for those who have worked for somebody else but have had the yearning to do your own thing, this series will include a webinar on what it takes to make the transition from being an employee to operating your own business. While our panel today includes experts who are well-versed in how to leverage a business venture to generate passive income, there are other ways to make that happen where you can take an even more passive role. Our webinar on investing for passive income will show you how you can take a silent role and use your financial assets to fund investments that can generate ongoing income through the distribution of dividends or other strategies, creating a paycheck that you don't have to work for. We'll also bring back our money management and wealth building panel discussion, a workshop that generates such engaging discussion that we usually have a hard time getting all of the questions answered. That panel includes experts in personal finance, investing, insurance, tax and estate planning, and more. You'll be able to ask questions on any number of topics, whether related to creative passive income or other important personal money issues. In addition to these programs, we'll continue past partnerships to host programs that address other critical areas of your personal finances. We'll be partnering with the Keeping the Covenant Married Couples Ministry for an in-person session to provide hands-on guidance and tools to help you leave instructions for your partner in case something happens to you. We'll also once again partner with Cobb Legal Aid to host what is now our annual estate planning and probate clinic that allows you to sit for a consultation with a licensed attorney to get feedback and counsel on how to put structures in place so your financial house is in order or to see how you can better navigate the probate process. And finally, we'll once again offer our online course entitled Manage Your Cash and Grow Your Stash, a self-paced financial literacy program with modules that you can study on your own schedule and where we encourage participants to build a habit of saving, which we support by providing matching dollars for the money you save. Remember that knowledge is power, but that power is only activated when you put it to work. Today is just the start of you increasing your base of knowledge in the spirit of our theme, Know Better, Do Better. The next steps are for you to reinforce what you've learned today by continuing to increase your understanding and putting what you've learned into practice. We are committed to helping you put the strategies in place that will help you live an abundant life. So stay plugged in to the events as they get booked on the church calendar throughout the year by visiting the Financial Empowerment page on the Turner Chapel website. We look forward to your presence at upcoming events so you can put yourself in the number of people who have become more financially independent by making money while you sleep.
Come on, come on!
So thank you. Yes, please give him a hand. And please give a hand to Brother Eric over here who did that video for us. He has been our video person, photography person for many a year, and he does great work for us, both in promotion and for things like this. So thank you, Brother Eric. So you can see we've got a lot of stuff coming up. Today is the start, not the end. So make sure that you pay attention to what's coming up. All of our dates are still to be decided, and that's why you need to just kind of keep an eye on what's happening via the church website. As workshops are scheduled, you can register there. Most of our workshops that are virtual are webinar-based, meaning that it's not a meeting where you're going to be able to just be directly talking. You're mostly going to be in the background, but we do offer the interaction where in some cases you can actually come in and talk if you need to. But you do need to register in order to be able to attend these webinars. And for those who are in our virtual audience today, you already know this, but those who are here, we have migrated from Zoom to Microsoft Teams. So for those of you who aren't familiar with Teams, that's a new platform that we're on. So you can take advantage of that. Now I have the pleasure of bringing on our panel. So if you guys want to go ahead and take your seats, have at it. And as I mentioned, yeah, you can go ahead and have a seat. Our co-chair, other co-chair, Bobby Van Buren, is going to be moderating the panel today. So I'm sure you're going to gain a lot from the discussion as we go along. Many of you already know Bobby, and I'll just leave it at that. But in addition to being co-chair for our conference series, he is also the co-owner of an independent insurance agency called the Insurance Gurus. So for those who may have insurance questions and needs, he can help you with that. He's got lots of experience both inside and outside of the financial industry. And so he's going to lead our panel, and at this point, I will turn it over to him. But I do want to mention for our virtual audience, you can ask your questions as well by putting them into either the chat or the Q&A function, and then our virtual moderators will relay that question. In some cases, they may answer it directly to you. But we want your interaction as well. Those who are in virtual land, if you are live streaming on YouTube, unfortunately, we don't have a way to interact with you, but hopefully you can take advantage of the information also. And for everybody who is here and online, we're recording this, so we will get you the recording. So if you want to go back and maybe there's something that you didn't catch all of it, you can catch it later. So with that, I will sit down and turn it over to our panel. Thank you.
Good morning. I gotta lift this up. Kevin is not, he's height challenged down there. I can't believe it's been 14 years since Reverend Ailes talked me into doing this, and I get way too much credit for being a co-chair because truthfully, and I say it every year, I'm Kevin's assistant because I do whatever Kevin tells me, and today I'm just coming up here. He didn't even ask me if I wanted to be a moderator. He told me I was going to be a moderator. So here I am. I have pleasure of being a part of this panel. I'm not going to bore you by reading. You have their bios in front of you, but I am going to give them an opportunity to say a little something. One, just quick highlight of where your experience, and then why you're here, because that's what's most important. We every year we look for panelists to kind of fit into our theme. And I love what you guys bring to the table. You know, Corey and I have known each other for a while because we're leadership Cobb mates. So I'm interested. I know what he brings to the table, so I'm very interested in what he has to say today. But we'll start with you, Renisha. Is it on?
Yeah, it's on. It's on. Hello. Okay, there we go. Good morning, everyone. I am Renisha Davis, and I own the Money Council. I'm professionally known as the Legacy CPA, and I am a certified public accountant. My motto for the Money Council is we multiply legacy for small business owners with a good conscience. The biggest reason why I was interested in what the Financial Empowerment Conference brings to the table is about just being a good steward of your resources. And we know that you can make money in various different ways. But if you don't keep it and pass it down to your family, then what are we really doing this for? So that's the focus for the Money Council, and I wanted to be a part of something good.
Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Okay, Alex Cater and Cater Investment Group. And so it's great to be here with you all. And the reason why I came up for this, and it's an honor and privilege to actually be here with you all, is we are consultants as well as growth equity investors, so we buy businesses. And the reason why this is important and particularly impactful for me is that we talk about this concept, and I saw the word actually in the video, of abundance. And if we think about being able to drive value for ourselves, for our communities, for our families, and all those different things, there's many different ways that we're able to do that, and not always aware of those different opportunities. And being an entrepreneur, being able to do that through acquisition as one of those ways, and being able to share those opportunities and avenues that we've been able to realize success and have experienced success through others as well. So definitely, I think that the concept is really, really great, and really look forward to hopefully sharing some of that and also learning as well.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Corey Ferguson, and I serve as Vice President and Principal of T. Dallas Smith & Company. And I'd first like to say thank you to Pastor Bright for allowing me to be here, and the Turner Chapel family for thinking enough of me to have me to sit in this seat and to just share some of the things that I've learned over my 23 years in commercial real estate. Just as simple, I help corporations make smart real estate decisions. That's what I do every day. And so I am very, very honored to be here today with you to just share a little bit more about what I've gained, and hopefully to answer some questions comprehensively for you that will help you in the future in your financial investment journey. Thank you.
Thanks, Corey. I'm going to start it out with a few panel questions, but then we'll do some individual questions. If questions come up in the interim, Kevin will lead me to them. All right, but when we think of money in our sleep, Kevin brought up John Hope Bryant and what he says about making money in your sleep. And I'd like your perspective from each of you, your perspective on, people think you can make money with as little effort as possible. What is your perspective on it? Because even if it's passive income, there's a stream to it, correct? So tell me your perspective.
So when I think about making money and multiplying the money from a legacy generation point of view, there are three critical resources that are top of mind that I always focus on, which is time, energy, and money. And sometimes we may have all three, but usually when you have a lot of money to invest, you don't have a lot of time and energy, right? When you have a lot of time and energy, usually you don't have the money. So when you're deciding to figure out how you're going to make money in your sleep, from a accounting point of view, you can either choose the active way of doing that, which is the traditional sense of trading time for money, or a passive way of doing that, which is putting the money up and letting your money work for you. So understanding where you stand on that trifecta scale will dictate where you fall in that schedule, because you don't automatically fall in the passive category. You have to make smart decisions to get there.
Thank you. Alex?
I think that's a really, really good perspective. I think that in addition to that, you always have choices, right? There's an opportunity cost to everything. And we often talk about education as being an avenue to growth, and that's very, very true. But the other avenue, as we talk about making money while you sleep, is ownership. So you use education as an avenue to being able to make smart decisions, to be an owner. And many of you already probably have this. You own stocks, you're an owner, right? You own businesses, you're getting dividends, you're earning your capital gains because you own that business, right? yet you're not actively involved with it, but you still have to make the decision in order to actually own the company, which companies you choose, and things like that. So always think about the concept of learning and learning about the different avenues, the different ways businesses work, the different industries in order to make these decisions on an ongoing basis so that you're able to do that and be able to optimize the value for your time for those decisions that you're making.
Thank you.
So I look at it as that, everything ain't for everybody. So we have to really start there because we're all in different stages of our lives. And I think that's the first thing you have to think about. At what stage are you in your life right now when you start thinking about your investment decisions? An investment decision for me and my peer group will be different than an investment decision for my mother and her peer group. So when I'm speaking to her, my mother's 70 years old, and over time, she's built assets. And it wasn't easy because she didn't understand it, because she came from a time period where it was, hey, this is my money, let me hold on to it because you don't know what tomorrow may bring. That's the way that she came up. But because of her trust and love in me and know that I had education and experience, she started to listen to me slowly. But the thing I had to make sure of is that I had the ultimate respect of where she had come from. So as time went on, she started to see the value of making these decisions, small decisions. And today, that same woman calls me today and says, ooh, Lord, I'm so glad I listened to you. Because this is what I can do, this is what I can be. And she's right now retired, and she travels around going to basketball conferences with her significant other. And that's what she enjoys doing. But it's because she took the time to understand where she was in the life cycle and started to make decisions based on that. So I would just say, start by knowing where you are. And once you start taking in that reality of where you are in the life cycle, then you can start effectively planning an investment strategy.
Well, to piggyback on that, starting from where you are, does everyone need to have your level of expertise to start to earn passive income?
No, everyone does not need to have my expertise to generate passive income because there are multiple ways. We have two dynamic professionals here that are generating income in their respective fields. But what I can say as it relates to commercial real estate, you need to be aligned with a commercial real estate expert. Not somebody that just does it on the side, not someone that goes to a 9 to 5 and then on the weekends they go to YouTube and they say, hey, this is what they told me to do. Oh man, Instagram popped this up, I'm about to put my money into this. It does not work like that. In this game, there is no elevator to the top. There are only steps. And those steps are uneven. I had the privilege of going to the Great Wall of China and walking each one of those steps, there was no symmetry. But there was no elevator either. So therefore, you had to take each step, one step at a time, and that's what it is in commercial real estate. Getting and gaining passive income in commercial real estate is a process, but that process starts with education. So none of us want to go to a college where there's somebody that's mildly educated. We want to go to a college where there's somebody who has a superior talent in education. Why? Because we feel like our return on investment is going to be high. So you want to align yourself with someone that has an expert level of knowledge in this industry. But here's another thing, that person has your best interest at heart. That person really wants to take the time to educate you on how passive income is generated in commercial real estate.
Very good point, very good point. Renisha, I'm gonna direct that to you as well, because as a CPA, you got to go through a lot, right? You got to pass a lot of tests. But you didn't get into it to start your business. You didn't have to be a CPA to start. There's a lot of people who aren't CPAs, correct? So what is your perspective on, do they have to have your level of expertise to be successful in earning passive income?
I would say that you would align yourself with the expert. So my path to becoming a CPA was non-traditional. I was in corporate for 10 years and then decided to jump ship and start my own business. But a CPA brings a certain skill set to the table where we help you know how to play by the rules well, but not what's written in black and white. There's a lot of the interpretation that we have to learn to teach you in speak easy ways that you can get, right? So there's a lot of knowledge that's not going to be widespread across the internet because it's commingling rules together to make sure you can achieve a result that works not only for today, but also beyond your years. So while you don't need to have my knowledge, you do need to know what questions to ask. And aligning yourself with someone where you feel comfortable, where you trust them, and they have your best interest at heart, even when you don't know what questions to ask, they'll guide you. They'll take you by the hand and say, hey, I know you asked this, but maybe this is what you mean because it will achieve a multiplied result of Y. So while you don't need to have the 10 years of experience, the 6 years of being a small business owner, and 4 tests over 16 hours of becoming a CPA with 2,000 hours of working under a CPA, you do need to align yourself with one who does have that experience.
So a mentor and a partner are just as important, particularly that mentor who you can ask that has that experience or expertise to start your own business.
Exactly.
All right, Alex, I want to direct this to you because as we think, a lot of the questions we have are about real estate, right? Everybody thinks about real estate as that passive investment. There's other opportunities out there. Renisha brought up, because of her business beyond the accounting side. But I know you've worked in other countries. So there's a lot of businesses that may be able to do business overseas, right? When you give customers, when you're consulting with your customers, do you talk to them about how they can have an impact by working outside the United States?
We do, depending on the customer, right, and client and everything, but yes. There's a lot of, we tend to be very US-centric. This is the center of the world. There's a lot of different places that you can go and different things that are doing great things, right? I was in Korea for 6 years and had no idea what was going on over there and how technologically more advanced it was than the US when I got there. But I would say that when we have these conversations, particularly people are looking for avenues, hey, what is a good opportunity to grow or diversify or do something, right? Because, hey, I grew up, like as example, in Atlanta. I'm originally from Chicago, but I'm in Chicago. And then you have, a real estate portfolio in Chicago, and that's fine. But what are the other opportunities there are, either if it's geographical diversification, industry diversification, or functional diversification and being something in another area to provide those spaces, and international is definitely one of those.
Very good, thank you. A lot of the questions, as I said, are titled around real estate, right? Not just owners. Give me a way that they can make passive money in the real estate field. And I'm gonna start with you, Corey, because I know that's your business on the commercial side, but all three of you deal with it. Renisha, you in consulting and doing accounting for these companies, you doing business consulting for it. I'm gonna start with you, Corey, because I know on the commercial side, that's your business with T. Dallas now.
So when it comes to making passive income in commercial real estate, there are a few ways that we see that. One way could be you put your money in a mutual fund. And that mutual fund then would take that money and it would go and say, hey, this mutual fund is dedicated to putting monies into a REIT or into some type of group that has pooled monies together to go out specifically for commercial real estate. While you are not directly connected to the assets, while you may not even know the assets that are in there in the asset makeup, you know that that money is earmarked to go towards investments for commercial real estate. And that's kind of a set it and forget it model there. The mutual fund manager will be responsible for making smart decisions and how that money is placed. Once again, having a smart advisory team to help you to understand which mutual funds are doing better than others and why that's happening. The next thing could be if you have access to someone that's with a larger group, you could actually put your money directly into a REIT. Now, this will be a little bit trickier because you have to have access to those individuals. And we know as people of our hue, people that look like us, we don't have a great amount of access to information like this. So once again, you have to make sure that you are aligning yourself with an expert, someone who sees that on a daily basis or has access to it or visibility to it, so that they can tell you within their network who we could go to or who you could go to get information about how you can put your money into a REIT.
By REIT, excuse me, by REIT you mean Real
Yes.
Estate Investment Trust.
And that's what I was going to get to.
All right.
Real Estate Investment Trust is a REIT. That typically comes at a higher dollar amount, okay? Putting your monies into a REIT comes at a higher dollar amount. The next one could be a syndication. A syndication is when you and another individual or multiple individuals that you collaborate with, that you may be here in church with or somewhere else, and you say, hey, I know this expert who's looking at a piece of property and they're raising money to buy that property. And you and that group of individuals can decide how much money you're wanting to put into this bucket, and that person would then go out, serve as a sponsor or serve as the key person to help grab that piece of property or properties. And then the last piece here would be you would be a sole investor, meaning that you have enough discretionary income or income on the sideline that you can go out and you can actually transact a deal yourself, transaction yourself, buy that piece of property yourself. Now, because I don't want to take up too much time from our panelists here, what I will say, all of these, if you hear me say anything, you must be a qualified investor to do this. Qualified investor, the simple of it is, if I lose all my money, I still go home and thank God because I'm not going to be put out my house. It's the simple. And I'm saying these things because this is how I talk to my mother. This is how I talk to my friends that ask me these questions. And because I see us as being family here, I think you would want me to have the same level of respect. If you're putting your money into these vehicles, know that it is not without risk, and you can lose all of your money. It has opportunities for growth, but it also has opportunities for failure. But we believe in the successful part of that, and I know that's why we're here today.
Thank you. Alex?
Honestly, I think that's a really, really good answer, right? It's pretty comprehensive, which is good. I mean, the syndication, and you talk about like one other element I'll add to that, which is just more so in, private equity is one of these different areas in which you can actually contribute money, and some of those private equity funds have a focus on real estate. They'll go and they'll buy up a number of different assets in their same pool. You choose a fund that has a fund manager who's an expert, and that's what they'll actually do, and they'll run that for you. And the idea is that you have to have money that's available because it's not liquid. It's not like you can pull your money out at any time, right? The idea is that you're going to sit in that fund for 7 to 10 years, right? And then you would make your money, they make their money by selling out of those different assets that they actually invest in, so then they can get you your money back. But it's a long-term play. It requires a little bit of time, a little bit of discipline. So you don't want to tie it up if you need money, to be liquid. It's something that you would do if you want some diversification. I do have an extra on the side and be able to do it that way.
Before I get to Renisha, I know the next question, keep in mind, is going to be what is the minimum investment when you get to that, right? Whether it's a REIT or something else, because that they're already thinking dollars, right? So how do you turn that? Is it how small an investment can you see a return on, right? But Renisha, I'm gonna let you answer the question. I want him to go start thinking about it.
So I think in 3D. So as I hear these gentlemen talk, my tax brain is telling me, so what, right? How does this show up on paper? How does it show up on the tax return? And what does all of this mean? So when I think about the 3 areas, the sum of it all is based on whatever you do has an impact on the tax return, and you need to stay close to your tax advisor or your CPA to understand what it is. The one thing I didn't hear mentioned, but I think it falls into the group investment strategy, is opportunity zones. Are you going to talk about that? Okay, so opportunity zones is one tax strategy that can have a multi-generational impact for you to defer the money earned and never pay taxes. So I do want to bring that to the table when we talk about making money in your sleep, because it is a deferral gain strategy of what we talk about. And it's almost like keeping grandmother's property in the estate, but it's from a commercial real estate investing point of view. So just know that as you say yes to investing, it shows up in different areas on the tax return and will have a multi-layered impact that you need to be aware of.
Well, that question I'm going to ask next about the investment side, the minimal investment, I got a question from the audience that may play into this as well. Somebody asked, I've been in my house for 30 years. My mortgage company is asking me to tap into the equity. Is that wise? Now, is it wise to do that to start your business, to fund your business? All right, when you look at that amount of minimum investment. And Corey, you and I have had this conversation, so I'll start with you.
Yeah, this will be a fun day. Here's the reason why I'm saying, again, it goes back to all things are not for all folks, okay? So it depends on what you're trying to accomplish. And have you done your homework? Have you aligned with an expert? Why do you want to do it? As again, what stage of life are you in? You know, our equity in our homes are very special to us. It should be special to you, okay? Because it's saying that, hey, you have an asset that you paid this amount for and it was worth this, and today it's worth more. So you have the ability to leverage that money. If it's a smart decision, it's all case by case, because I don't know the background as to why that person wants to do it, how they want to do it, and then let's get into the nooks and crannies. I don't know how you manage your money. You know, we really don't talk about these things in our families enough, because we know that Junior don't sit up here and manage his money well, but we know Shirley has been prudent with all of her money all of her life, because that's how she came up. So if Shirley came to me with an idea that had been vetted, had an expert, I may lean to and say, okay, Shirley, you know what you're doing, because you've done everything and you are a qualified investor, because if this money goes, you still got enough money. But Junior comes, I'm not gonna shut him down. I'm gonna say, Junior, come over here. We gotta talk a little bit. Okay, you wanna do this, you want me to give you the yes, then you need to spend some more time with me. I need you to meet my buddy over here. And if Junior decides that he's gonna do everything, okay, we can talk about that. So it's a case-by-case basis. That's what is the simple of it.
Thank you. Alex?
Can I quote Jay-Z right now?
Please, please.
I'm not a businessman, I'm a businessman. Every decision, if you think about yourself and your household as a business, you almost think about every other decision and everything that a business has, right? You have a vision, you have a mission, what are you trying to achieve? If you continue to remember, to that point that you just brought up, which is a good one, why? Always, you can ask why for any question 5 times to get to a purpose, but every time you're thinking about a decision, you have to remember the why we're doing something. So bringing that to that question, which is a great question. Okay, I'm gonna go and say I wanna go and take out the equity in the home. Okay, let's think about what that means. What that means is, okay, if I take out the money, I'm getting cash today, and I'm effectively borrowing, right, at a rate, an interest rate, which now is high. It's not the same as it was in COVID, where everything, money was free and you can go on the street and find $25 and put it in your pocket. It's much more expensive now. And let's just say it's, 6.5%, 7%, right? So if I'm gonna go take out that money it's gonna cost me 7% per year. So whatever I do with that money, I need to be making more than that in order to justify the decision. Every decision has that cost. So as you start thinking about it, it's like, okay, I'm going to go take out and start a business. Business is a risky decision. I'm going to start it from scratch. I want to bet on myself because I believe it's going to make more than that? Totally understandable. Totally fine. But that's the process that you have to think through before you make that decision to see if it actually makes sense or not.
Renisha, from a financial expert.
This one is tough, right? And I'm going to actually share a personal story. It's not going to be linked to interest or anything like that. So when I started my business, I had to decide. I had given birth to twins. I was not operating at a level to be effective in corporate anymore. And it was a realization that I said, it's either corporate or my kids. What do I choose? And as a mother, when you are faced with that decision, you have to make hard choices when it comes to finances as well. So if you're telling a mother that if all she has is to choose a HELOC to unlock a potential to start a business, then the decisioning might be a little bit more careful, right? But when I think about HELOCs, I do have a HELOC. I got it. It is not in use, but it is there just in case. So I think when a lot of people think, a HELOC, they automatically think the money is in use, it's earning interest, and I'm paying it every single month, when that's not necessarily the case. So from a financial point of view, I always say, get it in case you need it, but when you don't have it, that's when you are in a situation where you can't get out of. And then from a HELOC point of view, there are other avenues that you can use before you tip into something that has high interest. Cashing out a 401k. If you're not making money at the point where you're in a high tax bracket, it may make more sense to cash out a 401k before you tap into a HELOC that's probably at 9% interest. Because the 401k and how it shows up on your tax return when you're earning not much, it might be less than the interest. So make sure you're talking with a tax advisor, a CPA, where they're able to compare and contrast what monies or funds you have available to make hard choices. That if I am up with having to exit my corporate America job and start this business, and these are my only options, what option is the least expensive from a tax implication point of view or an interest rate point of view? And I think that's the question.
For the 401k, if they tap into it, they're going to have to pay that penalty as well on top of the interest.
Yeah, so it depends, because I've been there too.
Depending on their age.
Yeah, it depends. So if you have a Roth IRA and it's sat for 5 years, then you may have a tax consequence that is a 10% penalty. And depending on the value of that Roth IRA, you may not have a penalty on what actually earned. So it really depends on where your investments are sitting and where you choose. But from making money while you sleep, again, you have to put the money up from somewhere. And it's a matter of, does the return on my investment outweigh the cost of holding the debt or the funding from wherever I choose my pool of resources from?
When I started my business, I asked my uncle, who owned several businesses, about financing, and I had good credit. So his thing was, I was asking the question, do I take this money out of my retirement fund to start this business? And he said, well, you do what you have to do, but why risk your money? Go get if you have the credit, go to the bank and risk their money. In case something happens, you still have yours or your family has yours. Don't worry about that. So that, along that line, not everybody has the credit. Some people have credit and no cash. Some people have cash and no credit. Corey, I'm gonna ask you this, because this specifically ties to real estate investing. You can have credit and not have the cash. How do you become an investor?
So let's say, in an example, you have two individuals. One has really good credit. The other has capital, but that capital is tied up in some other investments. So that person who has the capital tied up in investments, he or she decides that they have found a piece of property, commercial property, that they deem to be very suitable for their overall plan. Keep in mind, there's been homework, they've aligned with an expert, all of the things. So they're at this point now. When they've gone to the lenders have given them an interest rate that makes their margins either very low or non-existent in this particular property. But they know the property is good. They have a friend in their network, and this friend has astounding credit. Why? Because they've had a business has been successful, they sold said business, they operated, they've done things with their money, they've paid their bills on time, all of those things. The person who has had the expert and they understand the value of that. That is a monetary value. And you're saying, well, how is that monetary? They don't have cash. Well, when that person partners with the person who has credit, they now go back to that lender, and that lender has dropped that price down by 500 or more basis points. Now, when I say basis points, let's say you have 10% interest. 500 basis points brings it down to 5% interest now, okay? And these are all fictitious numbers. But because that person's credit history is so strong, now this deal can now have a lower interest rate, and the margins or the return on investment are very, very attractive. So what happens? The person that's over here who has the good credit says, I appreciate it. This is how much money is going to go in the deal. And you'll be like, he doesn't have any money. Yes, that person does. Because the delta between what you could have got on your own and what you get now with me is my money. That's how much money I want in the deal. It will be up to the two parties if they agree with that. But this story just shows you don't always have to have capital right there, tangible in your pocket. What other assets do you have? My mother did something for me early on. She didn't have good credit. Things happened. She filed bankruptcy when she was younger, had me, and so many different things happened. We were displaced. We didn't have a home. So when my mother fought back to get us back in our home, she made sure that Corey is going to have a better situation. She did not have capital, but because she had a banking background, she knew one thing. If he has good credit, he can go and do what he needs to do. So at 18 years old, she took a credit card in my name, and I did not know it. She was strategic. She made sure she would do a small thing here, pay it off. Small thing here, pay it off. Small thing here, pay it off. When I graduated, and I went out and I was doing something I can't remember, and I sent something in and they gave me my credit score. At 21 years old, I had a 750 credit score. I could walk in anywhere at that time, and everything I wanted, I could sign for it. I said, Mama, what? She was like, I've been helping you to build your credit. She said, I couldn't give you no money, but I can help you to have an opportunity to access some money. So with that being said, I had credit, so I could do things. If you have credit, if you have assets, you can leverage them. But again, make sure you have an expert and you've done your homework as to what it is that you're trying to get into to see if leveraging that credit or leveraging those assets are in your best interest.
And you become an equity investor without putting cash. You still, because you used your credit, you still have equity.
That is, yes, and that is going to be dependent upon the relationship and the agreement between you and the other party or parties. But yes, I will be the first to step up to the table and say the difference in what you're seeing in your debt service, that's money. And now how we want to calculate that, am I calculating that today or am I calculating that for the term of how long you're going to have this asset?
Well, that agreement needs to be on paper as well. You can't
100%.
just trust. It's got to be on paper. Good. A lot of people have experienced somebody getting a credit card in their name, and it didn't turn out to be 750's credit score.
Yes, and that's why I say you have to know, if I go back to that example, what I talked about Junior and Shirley, you got to know if that person is prudent. And my mother came from a banking background. That's why I wanted to be in finance, because when I was a child, she took me to the bank, and I would be crawling around on the ground. She was vice president of the bank, and I saw her, and she's always been prudent to make things work. Life circumstances, being married to a drug-using father or drug-using husband,
put her into very troublesome situations, not by her fault. But to God be the glory, she didn't sit up here and hold her head down. She knew she had to dust the dirt off her shoulder, put on her boots, and had to keep moving because she had me and my brother.
Yeah.
And so when you have a background like that, you have no choice but to fight. You have no choice but to go out here and make the best that you can with what you've been given. And that's what I have chosen to do. And it has allowed me to be here in front of you today.
So the answer to our previous question of what's that minimal investment, it could just be credit. It could be $0. Bill Cheeks was our old financial advisor who passed away. I'll call him advisor. But I remember Bill he was more than proud to tell you his credit score. I'm about 850, Bobby. You can get up to 900. You came from Equifax, I think. And I remember I was doing something with my business, and I came in and told Bill, I said, hey, Bill, I ran my credit, and it's like 802. He said, on which one? I said, I think it was TransUnion. He said, that don't mean nothing, Bobby. He said, if it ain't Equifax, when you get to 820 or something, let me know. He said, otherwise, I felt deflated. I was like, okay, forget you, Bill. No, I'm just kidding. So anyway, we have another question, and this could be answered by both Alex and Renisha because, Alex, you're a business consultant, right? You work with a lot of, the question is, how do you vet your financial advisor? What are the questions to ask? And how do you test their integrity with your funds?
That's heavy. I think what's at the root of the question is integrity, and measuring where they stand in hard times. So a financial advisor is different than a CPA, and knowing where your financial team is important. So I am not a financial advisor. I am a certified public accountant, right? I do not have to follow investment like procedural things, but I am tied to ethical principles from a financial accounting point of view. So when you are vetting talent that is showing up on behalf of you as agency, it depends. Do you like to work with someone who thinks like you? Do you like to work with someone who offers constructive criticism to challenge you and to push you in ways that you aren't necessarily thinking about? I think knowing your personality and how you engage with others will dictate what you ask. And I think bottom line, it boils down to ethics and integrity, right? Are you going to do something that is going to hurt me financially that's going to land me in jail, right? Or can I trust you to act on behalf of not just me, but what I'm trying to build for my family? So key question is, what clients do you serve, right? If they don't serve clients that are similar to you, then they're not going to have the expertise to speak to what you are trying to achieve for your family. What licenses do you hold? I think that is a very important question when it comes to figuring out what board of ethics that they have to report to make sure that they're managing your resources well on behalf of you. And then I'd say the third question is going to be, what are your values? I think ultimately at the end of the day, if someone can't stand firm and be able to articulate what their values are, that will be a telltale sign. I'd actually put that at the top of the list, really. The other two are just more secondary to that. So if I had to be tactical, those would be the three questions.
So that means you need to meet with them, talk to them before you do anything.
Exactly.
A lot of people find things on the internet or watch a Instagram commercial.
Exactly, and I wouldn't trust what's on their website, because somebody can create a pretty website, but once you talk to them, you'll realize AI did it. So yes,
so
you
interview
need to talk to them.
Interview them, so to speak.
Yes.
Alex?
Yeah, so I'm not a financial advisor. We work with businesses on certain things. So I'll talk about like personally, because we've gone through this personally on a personal level, right? I think that all of that makes sense, and I think you need to have someone who has a fiduciary responsibility, clearly, right? And that means that they are mandated to work in your interest and disclose these things to you, the interests and different things to you so that you know that. But if we can go one step before that, again, before you go through the interview process, I think it's important for you to start knowing a little bit, one, about what it is, your current situation, and what it is you want to achieve. You always start, even anytime you interview somebody, whether it's for a job, it's for like that you're trying to hire somebody or somebody you're trying to hire to help you with your money, you want to know a little bit, enough about that topic so that you know if somebody's just talking some monkey nonsense off the bat. Because sometimes someone will tell you something and they'll sell you some wool and it's like, oh, it was good leather yesterday though. And you got to be really careful about it. So I think that you need to understand that first principle first so that as you go into a conversation, you know exactly what questions to ask because you'll have some foundational background in terms of their philosophy or what it is that you're looking to achieve in terms of your own financial goals. And when something is aligned, you're like, okay, that seems to make sense. Or if it's not, then you have a probing question to say, okay, that's not what I understood. So now tell me why. It could be very, very valid, right? Okay, we're leveraging or we're trying to protect this situation or something that we expect to happen in the future. Or it could be a trigger that, that's something that you actually don't want to be involved with or they're not necessarily exactly who you want to be aligned with, right? I think the one thing that's important when you're talking about financial advising, everything is really good when times are great. You don't really need, it's good, there's value in financial advisors, but that value is very, very low when everybody's making money, all the money's going up and everything is good. The time where your financial advisor really adds value is when stuff is actually hard and you're trying to manage it, right? Because everything's going down. The objective is for you may go down, you may actually experience some of that pain, but if everything's going down 10% and you're down at 4%, you're coming out ahead, right? So that's kind of the things that you want to have, that understanding of philosophy, understand what your objectives are, what their philosophy is, and then be able to test them on that to make sure that there's alignment there and that they're actually adding some value to you and what your positions are.
Well, to stay with you for a second, your business is formed to help people who have good business ideas. What's the difference between a venture capital company and your business?
So we're a growth equity company, right? So our job, we invest directly in companies, right, that have recurring revenue streams that are more established, and we're in that space. Venture capital is a little bit earlier. So if I put it into 3 stages, there's 3 stages and really 4 if you add the stock market, but there's really 3 stages of businesses, right? You have really established one, which is private equity, what we just talked about, where you invest a lot of money. They usually invest in businesses that are well established, and they're going to go and sell that later on, right? And generally, if you're investing that, you're looking at people who have a few $100,000 that's sitting inside, and they put that money in that capital, and then they sell those things out in 17 years, and you get your money back, plus a lot more if it's successful. Then on the very opposite side is venture capital. And what venture capital does is that they go and they put a little bit of money in a lot of different places. And the idea is that those businesses are generally earlier stage businesses that are a little bit more risky. They tend to be more risky because they're not proven. You either have, a lot of users or people who, if you have tech platforms, right? Everyone has a tech platform. You have a lot of users, but they haven't figured out a way to actually make money off of them yet, right? Or you have some businesses that are just starting up, but they don't have that track record. So the idea is if you put money in 10 companies, 6 of them probably are going to fail. They're either going to fail or you're going to get pennies on the dollar of it. And the idea is that maybe 2 of them or 3 of them are going to get your money back, maybe a little bit more, and then 1 or 2 of them are going to just go all the way up, right? It's almost like, not to say it's smart betting, but it's actually a little bit more risk associated with venture capital. We're sitting in the middle of that, and to some extent, right? No, I almost put ourselves, we're more so on the private equity side, but not nearly as large of a private equity case. We're talking about businesses that have, recurring revenue. So I could give you an example, right? We have property management businesses, right? Property management businesses they control a number of different contracts for a number of different businesses or for a number of different homes and companies, commercial real estate that they're supporting. And they continue to do that, and they work to scale those businesses up. So what we are in that space, and there's a little bit of a different risk profile. So that kind of goes back to your other question about what level of risk you want to take. Mm-hmm. And we've decided that we want to take some risk, right? But we also want to be smart about the risk that we're taking so that we're able to kind of realize that benefit for our investors who invest in us, as well as for the companies that we invest in and we walk through this journey with, so that we can all end up growing and being successful together.
Yeah, somebody asked the second part of that question, how much does a financial advisor charge? But you all said you're not financial advisors, so it wouldn't be good for us to answer that, right? You can, excuse me? Okay, please.
There are two categories of financial advisors. You have fee-only financial advisors. So at the Money Council, we actually partner with other experts. So think of the Money Council as being a board of directors to small businesses, right? So from the financial advisory space, the two categories are fee-only, meaning you pay them up front, and those fees can range anywhere between $1,200 a year to $5,000 and above for the year. And those financial advisors are responsible for managing your portfolio, whether it has personal assets from an investment point of view or business assets that are growing from an equity portfolio. And then the second category of financial advisors is you hold a portfolio of investments and they take a percentage of that portfolio. Some people like fee only because they are very transparent and there's a cap on how much they will charge you. And others are like, just take it out of my portfolio because I don't want to see it. But those can be sometimes abusive in nature because you don't know what you're giving them. You could be giving them $10,000, $15,000, depending on the value of your portfolio in totality.
I have a financial advisor who only takes payment when he makes me money, and he ain't taking no payment in a long time. I need to find another one. I'm just telling you. I think I need another one. But I digress. Corey, somebody asked a question to explain the difference, and this is going to be two in one question. Explain the difference between commercial real estate and residential, and then how does someone who's in the residential side become an investor on the commercial side? In your opinion, is the best way to do it?
So a residential property is a property, for the most part, that is a single dwelling property. That could be a detached home or a townhome, a home that shares a wall. And the number of properties that you can go up to before it becomes a commercial property is 4. So a duplex is considered a residential property, okay? So when you get up into 5 units or more, then now it is a commercial property. Now that's the first layer. If someone was just saying, hey, what's the difference? I have a duplex, or I have a commercial property. No, by definition, you do not. You could have multiple residential properties. You could have 10, 15, 20 different properties. You are an aggregator of residential properties, but that does not say that you are a commercial real estate owner. Okay? So it really is a multi-unit, if we're talking about where people live, a multi-unit dwelling that has 5 or more. Now, there are different classes, so that's the key difference between residential homes and then you have apartments, but there are other categories. Those are the categories of commercial real estate, are office, industrial, so when you see a warehouse, that's commercial. Retail, we all go to some type of business or service, and there's a retail shopping center, a outdoor shopping center, indoor shopping center. Land, when you find land that is zoned commercial, okay? So the land plot next to your home is not commercial. It is zoned residential, so it is that. Self-storage. Many people don't look at that. They don't know what it is, but that is commercial, okay? Then you have multifamily, which we talked about, but there's also what you're sitting in right now. A church is its own category, and it falls under specialty. Specialty real estate. It goes along with a golf course, a marina, it could be a school, but it has a special purpose real estate. So those are your primary categories. Now you have other people that say, oh, mixed use, that's a category. Well, that is a gumbo, okay? That's gumbo, because in mixed use, you could have residential, which is the multifamily, retail, office, you could even have small warehouse into that. And that's what they call the mixed use, okay? So I call that the gumbo pot, okay? Now, what was the second part of our question?
Best way to transition for if they're in the residential side to transition to commercial.
This is tough. Why do I say it's tough? Because I've worked with a number of residential professionals that are wanting to move into commercial. And here's the toughest thing, coming out of the mindset that you have from residential. So the toughness is not so much of the industry, but it's that you're shifting your mind from what you know to now something new. This goes back to your stage of life. When you're younger, you're flexible. You hear something, you have the ability to move and pivot. And I'm talking about this from experience in working with residential agents who say they want to move over into commercial. The biggest problem they have, or what I've seen, is that they cannot move their minds from the fact that I can get my license today, list a property tomorrow, and have it under contract the next day, and get my check within a short period of time there. My lead time to get my check is no less, for what I do here, no less than a year. When I do a deal, my wife and family knows. I say, yes, I just signed this. Great, we'll see it in a year. But here's the thing, I may not see it because my clients' decisions are not based on real estate and how it's going to appreciate and what it's going to do and if I'm putting my money in to invest it. Because I work in corporate strategy, I help corporations to identify commercial real estate for their business use. Some of you may have traveled up and down 75, 85 and noticed a building that's to the right if you're going south and a building is to your left if you're going north, the Microsoft building. I had the luxury of representing Microsoft and securing that 500,000 square foot building. They didn't make that decision based on, oh my God, this is going to appreciate over here. They made that decision because they said, we want to compete in this market. Google is right over here, and we've got other businesses here. We know how many people we want to serve. This is what we're going to do. But if they had made a decision to say, you know what, the market has changed. The stock market is saying something different about our stock price. They would have said, Corey, great job this year and a half, but we are scrapping the project. And how much money do I get? Nothing. So that's one of the biggest challenges for residential moving over into commercial. You have to have the bandwidth, the staying power to continue to go and build your business. And it is, once again, not an elevator. It is definitely the stairs that are not symmetrical. So if you do want to move over into this lane, before you would come to myself or someone else, you have to step back. Where are you in the life cycle? Do you have the discretionary income to wait for a check? And if those two things are there, we'll get into the third part, which is very difficult, and I will not sugarcoat this. Building a network. Because when you look at a lot of these buildings out here, these commercial buildings, how many of them do you think are owned by people that look like the faces in this room? So when you're going out and you're trying to get business, understand that's another fight that we have to fight as commercial real estate experts in this business. That's why I'm extremely blessed to work at a black firm, to be part owner of a black firm, because we have the ability to expose this industry to a multitude of people that look like us and to help them to understand the challenges that come along with it, but more importantly, nurture them in being proficient and effective in this industry.
So that's what I would tell anyone that's trying to move over from residential to commercial, that you have to be ready for the grind, you have to have the staying power, and you also have to make sure that you're ready for the struggles that's going to come along with building a business because you are a black person.
Thank you, thank you. T. Dallas Smith owns a company, great story. I got a chance to meet him through you, and he has a fantastic story. Anybody you ever get a chance to look him up, do so. We're going to take some time. Do we have questions from the audience? If you do, please stand up and ask your question. Oh, there we go. Kevin will put a mic out there if you'd like to come up and ask a question. While they're doing that, another question for whoever wants to answer. Corey, you talked about network. How do they build that network? Where do they go for each of you? Where do they go to build that network? Where should they start to give them opportunities?
I love this question because network starts right here in this building. It starts here. But we have to be open to sharing what we do. And we have to get out of our own way and believing that, well, I don't really do anything. No, you do something. Do you know this person? Do you know that person? Do you understand who this person is? I'll give a quick story about this if you don't mind. T. Dallas, who is the founder and CEO and my business partner at T. Dallas Smith & Company, when he was younger, he had an aunt who he was very, very close to and always saw her at the tailgates for the Falcons games and all this. So this was his aunt he knew very, very well. And she was the housekeeper for a gentleman by the name of Zabin. Zabin was a very powerful individual from an influence standpoint. He told Arthur Blank to go and to buy the Falcons. When he sold Home Depot, Arthur Blank bought it. He told another gentleman, you need to put the aquarium here, and the Georgia Aquarium is there. It was simple as that. That was his level of influence. So when he passed away, there was a big to-do. It was everybody that was in this circle, which was a vast number of individuals, showed up to this funeral. It was all in the paper, all these. So Dallas found out through the paper that his aunt was a housekeeper for Zabin. After that, Dallas got to his aunt. I think his name was Jenny. He said, Jenny, do you know Zabin? She said, yes, Ty. His real name is Tanalo Dallas Smith. She said, yeah, Ty. And they call him Ty. Yeah, Ty. I know, I've been working for him. She said, but do you know what I do? That's what Dallas asked Jenny. She said, no, I don't know what you do. Well, he said, well, he had two gentlemen that he knew was connected to Mr. Zabin. And he said for that, he said, do you know John and Sam? She said, yeah, they meet with Mr. Zabin every week. And he said, Jenny, do you know I do the same thing that they do? She said, oh, Ty, why you ain't tell me that? I would have got you in the room with Zabin too. These two individuals are some of the most commercial real estate professionals in the country. They sit here in Atlanta, and they all came up with Dallas. But because Dallas just saw Jenny as his aunt, not as a potential resource, he missed out on the opportunity to build a network in such a way that he could have probably seen exponential growth in this industry of commercial real estate faster than he's seen it. So why do I say all of this? The network starts here. How many times do we talk about what we do? A lot of times we talk about, hey, how we're feeling, which is good. We talk about the affairs that we have going on here, what's going on with our children, what's going on with our parents, what's going on here. But do we ever talk about what we do so we can really understand the access? I can promise you, Reverend Bright, if you took an inventory of all the disciplines that you have in this church, you would have one of the strongest networks in Metro Atlanta. To be able to utilize that, data mine that, use artificial intelligence, AI, to figure out these pieces, a lot of things will happen. a lot of influence will come from that, because you'll find that Miss Jenny knows someone of significant influence at the Cobb Chamber, knows someone significant influence with the governor, or whatever it is to move certain agendas forward. So your network starts where your feet are planted.
It's a great,
I really like
great
that.
answer.
I just want to.
Yeah.
Very great story.
It was a long story. You told me it's short. High-pitched voice. I never heard you do that one either.
So I will say I agree with that. I think in this day and age with digital, there's access to things that literally, if you type it in, bloop, it pops up. So LinkedIn is my favorite social media tool, period, end of story. Aside from Instagram, aside from TikTok, aside from all the things, LinkedIn, if you aren't planted in a church, is going to be an initial starting place. And being able to understand your needs for whatever you're building. So it's interesting. I'll give 1 minute story. It's not as eloquent as Corey, but ultimately when you are finding a job, you go to LinkedIn first. I remember when I decided to step my toe back into corporate and then was like, I applied to work at Ernst & Young, and I was like, well, I want to know what it's like to work there. I want to know what people's experiences are. I need access to information that I don't necessarily have, so who can I go to? LinkedIn was my first choice. So if I knew I wanted to be on the partner trajectory, I wanted to find partners who were willing to speak to me and, leverage their time to ask questions. So using LinkedIn to really stretch your capacity, your mental capacity, and understanding who to reach out to, what search terms to put there to find the people and the resources you need to make things happen, like leveraging that digital age aside from your feet being planted in the moment, I think is a best next step when you don't have access to in-person resources. And I speak for the girlies who are introverted by heart, who would probably prefer to be in their pajamas looking at eChurch, right? So like if I can hide behind a computer screen and do Zoom, I'm all for it, right? But aside from the feet being planted, I would say use, digital resources to your advantage.
Thank you. Alex?
Yeah, I think both of these are good answers. What I would say is, when you think about it, pull these all together, there's always a network available as long as you are physically somewhere, right? Because if you think about this, right, we talk about the church. You come to church and you have people at church. You live somewhere. You have people who you live in a community with, right? There are people, your neighbors that are there too, right? You went to a school, you go to work, you have people who are at work. You may have gone to a school, maybe gone to 2 schools, maybe went to 3 schools. Each one of those schools at a university level and school level also are a network. There are so many circles. If you step back again and you think about yourself as a business and where you're positioned, and you start looking at these circles, and you talk about LinkedIn, they do it to you on a digital platform, so that's another one. You can start putting together almost a mosaic of all of these different networks that you are part of, and you just don't think about it because you don't think about life that way, right? When you start thinking about it that way, you have many different ways that you can touch base with people. And that story is a good one because the network for being able to find somebody isn't necessarily the person who might be in the space that you're actually directly in that space, but they're the one who has the avenue to get you into the space because they know the person who knows the person who's going to give you the opportunity that you're interested in. So start thinking about, where do I go? Where do I want to be? What are these spaces that put me there, right? Are there other circles that I'm not playing in? Maybe I want to be in North Atlanta. Maybe I need to move up a little bit further north because there's opportunities I'm looking at there. So start thinking about it that way, and you'll realize that there's a lot of opportunities, and then plug yourself into them.
Thank you. And don't forget about leadership programs. That's how I met Corey, through Leadership Cobb County. Those programs are local. You find out more about your community you live in, and you make more connections than you ever thought of, from the police department, fire department, really particularly. If you got police problems, call me. I'll call somebody. I can't help you. That's another story. Now, I know you had a question, Liddy.
Thank you. First of all, I just want to say on that last question, started one of my business, my main business, all of my resources came out of Turner Chapel. My real estate business comes out of Turner Chapel. And so 100% investment business comes out of Turner Chapel. The people you know are the people you trust that you see every day or every week. But I want to ask you a question. A lot of times we talk about having to spend money in order to be able to make that money. And I believe some of that. But when people don't have those resources, how can they, in a small way, make money without going to buy something?
Anybody want to tackle that?
So yeah, I think this one goes back to. I think I might have did that. Okay. I think this goes back to understanding your assets. Okay, and understanding those assets may be that you find out you don't have any assets. Okay, so you're like, oh, there's a revelation. Don't have any assets. So now it's about, okay, what are the disciplines you're going to put in place to build your assets? Because I wouldn't want you to say, hey, I'm going to take cash, and now I'm going to take that cash, and now I'm going to start putting it into. What I would be looking at is saying, can I take that cash and put them into safe investments? A savings account, number one. Okay, that becomes there. Is there a CD that you could possibly put it into? Is there some type of bond? These are very safe investments. I would venture to say the individuals that's on this panel with me would agree. These are very low risk opportunities, and as those start to grow, now you're building assets. And to our point earlier, once you have those assets, now how do you leverage those assets? How do you get these assets that you pulled together in front of a lender and then let them value those, and then now you may have the income that's needed to go out and to invest. But the one thing you didn't do, you didn't take money away from your core investments. They're still generating and turning. They're churning. Okay, so that's one of the things. The other thing I would say, I think that we didn't talk about, is that in commercial real estate, there are income-producing properties, and then there are properties that you just buy because of appreciation values. What we're primarily talking about here are income-producing properties. And there are other mechanics that go along with that, okay? So it's not, hey, I've got a good deal, okay, now I'm going to put it into commercial real estate, because you can have a building that has 5 tenants in that building, but if you don't do your homework and understand that those tenants' businesses are failing, you're going to have an empty building. And that empty building still has a note on it, or someone still owes money. And when the debt collector comes, he or she is going to want their money. And that can keep you up at night. So make sure that you're doing your homework again, and also have an expert that's connected to you.
Thank you.
I'll answer it from a point of view where when you don't have the money, what else can you pull from resource-wise to make the money and then invest? So I uniquely position women entrepreneurs to first make money from a skill or a talent. And we don't want to do that for long. We just want to make it profitable, and then we want to take that money and put it somewhere for it to make money while we sleep. So remember how I said earlier, it's the time, energy, money. Usually when you have time and energy, you ain't got the money, let's be honest, right? So how can we prioritize our strategy to get the most out of our skills and talents to earn revenue that is profitable? And then how can we take that profitability and reinvest it somewhere else for it to earn money, right? And I want to spend time here because most people, when they don't have the capital and they have the time and the energy, the number of ideas that are generated are a lot, right? And what you will end up doing is the little money that you do have, it's scattered. And when you have scattered money, it doesn't really earn money, right? So being very intentional about what you're passionate about and how can you take that passion and turn it into profitability to then take it and sweep it into something else. This shows up very uniquely on the tax return. So we all know famous pop stars that like to advertise concerts that pop off at the top of the year. But that is very intentional and it is very strategic because they're probably coming off of a year of a really good year, and they've already talked to their financial advisors. They've already talked to their CPA, and they're like, I don't want to pay tax on that. So what are we going to do with these millions of dollars so I don't have to pay tax on it? Maybe I'll pay a little bit of it, this year, but how can I take whatever is now sitting in my bank from the skill and the talent that I have to sing and make money from, right? How can I now take this and turn it into a business, right? We all know Beyonce, right? We know that she made money from an album, and she took that money from the album, and my speculation is she then created Sacred from it, which is now a product that is earning money, right? You can choose to take money and invest it in real estate. You don't have to invest it in another active business, but that would be an example where you don't have the capital to start with, yet you have the skill and talent that you can monetize and take that profit and earn money while you sleep, and it shows up in a different position on the tax return that ultimately benefits you and your generations to come.
Thank you.
Is this on? I don't hear.
Tap it.
Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, we hear you.
Okay, I can't hear myself. So the information you all have provided has been excellent on today. But I have a question about, Airbnbs became really, really popular. And there's a lot of mixed, opinions about it. So I'm very curious to hear you all's perspective about it, especially in the climate that we're in today. Thank you.
So I'll talk about it more from a tax perspective. Airbnb falls into short-term. It can fall into short-term real estate or long-term real estate. And when we think about real estate in general, again, are you actively participating or are you passively participating? If you are actively participating, it shows up in a much more lucrative way on your tax return than a passive investment, right? So when you are owning a residential property that you are now putting on Airbnb to rent, you are in either bucket, right? And that bucket can work against you or it can work for you. In situations where it works for you, you are managing the property. You're doing everything, right? From property management, right? You may not be hiring a property management software. You're using the Airbnb software to manage the property, so you get active participation because you're participating in running that business. And due to active participation, it plays with your W-2 income a lot better than the passive side. The other thing with, I'd say, the Airbnb is when you own the residential property. Have you guys ever heard of depreciation in residential properties? Okay. Depreciation is a way that shows up on your tax return as paper losses, which offset the taxes that you have to pay. So if you have a lot of paper losses to play with, right, it goes back to the strategy of, am I in this for long term for me to hold this Airbnb property? And if I am, then these paper losses work for me. But if I am not in this long term, and I took a paper loss today, but I decide to sell this property because for whatever reason it didn't work out, I didn't make money, I'm not seeing the fruit of my labor, and you sell it, then it can work against you. So 2 things. Knowing when you get into Airbnb, are you in it for the long term, regardless of the market, so that if you decide to sell it, if it doesn't work, you're not having to pay taxes on something that you got a benefit for in the first 2 years. And then 2, knowing what level of participation you want to do when you buy the property is really going to work for or against you on the tax return.
Alex? Yeah, we have a real estate portfolio, and one of the managers was talking about going into Airbnbs and converting them from long-term to short-term. Why? Because a lot of tourist area, right, that they have a lot of people who are coming in and everything. It's a little bit different. It's a different business, right? When you do long-term, you don't have to touch it. Short-term, you manage your own hotel effectively, right? And I think that it could be interesting. It could be good. I think going on that point, though, too, on paper, most Airbnbs don't make money, right? Because you end up with a lot of expenses, and it's a lot of turnover, and you have to be able to pay every time you turn it over. You got to pay for the fact you acquire this building and everything else. But that can be great. It could be amazing. I didn't make any money this year. That's great because it looks like I'm not paying any taxes on that, but in reality, I have a little bit of cash flow on it because I took away that money into depreciation. I'm paying myself or my business to go clean up, but really, my business is me, right? So it can be, these are all really, really important things to understand. So it all depends, really, in terms, again, and not to have that answer. That always depends on what the why is, and if you're going to be in it for a longer term, it could be really great, especially in the right market, in the right conditions. It can work really well, especially, and the reason I love real estate and we got into real estate is because you have, one, from a tax benefit perspective, is amazing. You can go and invest in real estate, and then you actually realize that ways to offset that against whatever money you made in W-2, right, that you're making any money. But also, you can end up converting it, depending on the real estate that you're talking about. Say the Airbnb, either the jurisdiction you're in says, oh, we don't want Airbnbs, or we're going to make it overly challenging to manage, convert it to long term, and still be able to recoup revenue that way. So I do think that, depending on what it is, it could be a really good opportunity to look at.
Thank you. I'm going to say from an insurance perspective, I have a lot of customers with Airbnbs. You have to make sure you have the right policy, because there have been a couple of times they've had some claims that weren't paid out because they didn't have it, because they had it as a single-family home or had it as an apartment, but they were renting it out and didn't say anything. So make sure, if you're going to get in that side, because I have customers who do, that's all they do, make sure you get in that side, you have a conversation. Okay, I don't know if this is a question. There's 4 pieces to this, but they brought up investment groups. Learn about investment groups, investment financial literacy. Do you have any experience, or are you involved in investment groups? From the commercial real estate side, I'm sure there is, right? I don't know if anybody else is, or what you would have to say about investment groups.
Yeah, we are an investment group to some extent, but it depends on that word has a wide space of what that means. I think I talked about.
I'm assuming they're talking about local investment. Oh, I'm sorry. Stand up, please. Thank you. I don't have. Can you come up here, ma'am?
In the past, in one organization I was in, it was a group of us, women, and we wanted to become more financially literate. So we started a group of women to pool our money together to do low-risk investments. And that, kept us involved. It helped us to learn because, and excuse me, I'm not as proficient as you all are in finances, so I might use the wrong term. Don't want to insult you. But we didn't know about ETF and, all of that, low risk, high risk. We just wanted to learn. We didn't want to lose money either. We didn't want any minuses on our statements when we got. But anyway, we pooled our money together. I think we started off with $100 a piece. And we bought stocks and some bonds, and we saw that we made a little money. I don't know if that still continues nowadays. We had one group in our church. We had one group in another organization. I belong with those pink and green people. But anyway, we learned a lot, and we did grow money, accumulate money. And I just wonder if that still continues today. I mean, this is probably low level. You all are high finance.
No, I think it's a great thing. It's a great concept. And honestly, what you just said is actually really, really amazing because it's something that actually honestly should happen more often, in my opinion, right? Because oftentimes, even when you talk about business people, everybody wants to be an entrepreneur and start their own business, but many times there's more efficiency by working together to form one bigger business cohesively instead of having a whole bunch of smaller businesses that effectively are somewhat competing with each other. So to that point, when you say, hey, that's a syndication effectively, that's what it is. You pulled your money together in order to do something. And it's really, really great. And if I can tell a story really quickly, there's a really good one. It's a really good one, I think. In the Bahamas, right, there's these concepts called family islands out in Exuma. And, you know, a lot of money came down to family lineage, right? Descendants of slaves took over areas, right? So a lot of those people are in the U.S. and they say, okay, we don't have money to build a house. They give them the land. You can have the land if you want it, and you can build on it, but no one really had the money to go and build this house because it costs a lot of money. It's more expensive. You're either going to ship the materials from the U.S. or do something else. So what ended up happening, they never got it done. And so what ended up doing is like, okay, well, we'll manage it, bring it together in a pool, we'll run it, because it doesn't really make sense that you all have this asset and you're not able to actually deliver something while Sandals is up here making a killing on the other side of the island. So ended up basically helping them with their syndication and pulling it together so they're able to build their property and then issue them the dividends. It's the same thing that actually, by the way, that's the same way that Hard Rock in South Florida, but that's owned by the Seminole tribe, they did the exact same thing. Every member of the Seminole Nation gets a check every year because of the way that works. So that concept that you're talking about, yes, it's not as prevalent as I think it should be, but it's a very, very good concept to do and take under.
I'm going to stop you for 1 second. We're very limited on time. I didn't hear all of her question, and I don't think they did online. So to summarize her question, you answered, Alex. Was her question investment groups? What your thoughts on success of investment groups with her? Like she invested with a small group, started with $100 and grew her investment when they saw success?
Yeah, it's more so about like a concept of do people come together to form an investment group and team together? And that's the term we call syndication,
Gotcha.
where people come together to do that for a purpose.
Okay, thank you. You want to answer it real quick, then I'll ask the last question?
Yeah, so I just, the additional value that I want to put here is making sure that whenever you decide to go in any sort of group investment, whether it's a syndication, again, the accountant is talking now, is that it boils down to paperwork. And I'll give an example where it's okay to pull the money, but ultimately at the end of the day, if you're investing in a stock market and it's with a mutual fund provider, somebody's name got to show up on that document. And if the person's name is showing up on the document, at the end of the year, that person gets a 1099 div, a 1099 interest. They get a form, and that form basically is signaling to the IRS that someone made money. And if that form is not then placed on the appropriate tax return, it creates IRS issues, right? So the point in me saying this is if there is any sort of group investment strategies that are happening, whether it's a syndication, whether it is a partnership, an operating agreement is going to save you a lot of headache because this tells you who's participating in that group who owns what, who invested what, who gets what, where should it show up on the tax return. So being clear of those agreements up front so that everyone is issued their fair share of what needs to show up on the taxes wherever is going to add a lot of clarity when you participate in group investing.
Thank you. I've got several questions left, but we only got time for one, right? But I want to clarify, they did ask me, somebody in the audience asked me about the Airbnb comment I made. If you have your property on a homeowner's insurance policy, and then you have a claim, and it turns out that somebody was living in the property, there's a difference. Homeowners is personal lines. A lot of carriers consider commercial properties as commercial lines. If you have an Airbnb, if you're renting out your home, renting out your apartment, renting out your condo. So if you have a claim where somebody is not on that policy, it's not going to be covered. They have a chance to deny it. Sometimes they'll pay it out if it's small and they'll drop you. Condo policies, those are very difficult to get because other people affect you. If you have somebody living upstairs and they have a leak and it comes down, it claims on your insurance, not theirs. So there's a lot of changes. So whoever asked the question, if you have other questions, you can ask me about it. But you have to be very careful and make sure that you're insuring it under the right policy, or when you have a claim, it may not get paid out. All right, I got several last questions for you, but I think I'm gonna do this one because I don't know how you're gonna answer this. We only have, how much time we have left, Kevin? Kevin's gone, that means we have no time. 8 minutes, okay. In the current political climate of federal agencies being closed or drastically changed, should there be a concern for the FDIC, or if there's something we should be doing to prepare, especially if you're in the investment market? I told you.
Good question. To be honest with you, I don't think you need to necessarily worry about FDIC per se, right? Because FDIC is underpinning the entire banking system, right? Now, again, I was in DC for 4 years, so I'm probably closer to this than most, right? And it's also a pretty politically charged argument and discussion, right? There's a lot that happens in the way the federal government works. So this whole concept, there could be some understanding by why and opportunities that, to drive efficiency for things, and with the fact that we are also running deficits for 24 years straight now as a federal government. But I don't think that we necessarily need to particularly worry about the financial system and the fact that it's going to be secured, because everybody still is going to make money. And they still want to make sure that that's going to still be protected. So long story short, I think that if you have sound principles and policy about how you're thinking about making your money, right? Not, aside from industries, and you're making sure that you're in the right places, then follow that strategy and continue to just watch it, but don't let government concerns necessarily drive your investment decisions, because they change and they go and have you, but the underpinning of that would still stay the same.
Well, to you, Renisha, from a Social Security standpoint, if somebody's 62 and has an opportunity to take Social Security, should they be worried about if they were going to hold out to 65 so they get $300 more a month?
Yes, you should be worried. And I'm very short, one, because of the time, but the underpinning of a lot of the things that have been built to protect us is shifting. It is dismantling, and I want us to acknowledge that as truth. But I don't want us to over-focus on it, because as Alex mentioned, regardless of what happens, your goal in life should be financial sovereignty for your family, right? And one way to be prudent in that is, if we didn't have a government, how are we going to survive, right? Regardless of which political party is in office, how am I going to survive? And I know that is a privilege to think that way. I personally didn't grow up in a family where money was in the bank account, right? But in a situation where I've had access to resources to understand how to multiply my little into something, or allowing God to multiply my little into something that is much more, how do I then take this to make sure it is available for my family to be able to eat off of, regardless of what is happening in the government? So for those who are at 62 and at 65, yes, they are coming after the overall system, and it is said that it is going to dry up in 2032. I thought it was 2050 at some point, but 2032 is the new number. For VA, vets, they released a statement, I want to say 3 days ago, saying that veteran benefits are now going to be taxed. So you should care about that. So when it comes to understanding what to do from this conference, to figure out, okay, well, if it's going to be taxed, how do I take this money and multiply it while I sleep? because it no longer is enough, right? So how do I take that, multiply it so that I can improve the financial sovereignty for my bloodline? I think is ultimately what Alex was getting at.
What's interesting, they're talking about taxing veteran benefits, but not taxing tips in restaurants. I think they're pandering towards, they don't need that veteran vote as much anymore. They're going after the younger vote.
Yeah. And I would say learn to play by the rules, right? There are announcements that are being made. So, for example, if tips are not going to be taxed, there is a way that you can code your website to add tips to your website, right? So there are ways for you to play by the rules, and the goal when you align with the CPA who cares about what's changing in the political landscape is that they go before you to understand that. And again, when you are meeting with those advisors and you're asking the right questions, and even though you may not be asking the right question, their job is to highlight where there is opportunity for you to play in the shifting landscape that helps your family.
So she's saying, call her. That's what she's trying to tell you. Corey, lastly, from your perspective, whether it's opportunity zones, do you think all the changes they're making now is going to affect your business negatively? Or sometimes when the market turns negative, it's a better opportunity to enter the market because it's less expensive, but you got to be able to hold it for a while. So give me your perspective on that.
Well, definitely you have to take into consideration administration, and you have to take into consideration the basis of how administration made its money back in the day, right? So just kind of read between the lines of what I'm saying. So when you think about commercial real estate, there is a superior effort to make sure that those who are trying to invest in commercial real estate at varying levels, that they can see benefits from doing so. So do I see that we're going to be in a situation where commercial real estate is going to take a dip? I don't think that we're in that type of market because the fundamentals of commercial real estate in certain sectors are still strong. Right now, retail is really on the rise just because we've come out of thinking that we can't go back to stores. We really want to go touch and feel right now. So with that experiential type of retail is what people are seeking. So they want to be able to go, touch, feel, and be. So with that, you see that warehouse is going to continue to do what it's doing. E-commerce is going to continue to grow. It's going to continue to be there. We're going to continue to order things. But the industrial sector is seeing a lot of growth because of data centers. Data centers is one of the hottest things out right now, and they can't find enough land and power to keep it moving forward. So as you hear things about AI and all of that, when they keep saying more AI is needed, understand they're trying to pump out more data centers because those data centers are really moving to pump AI. The sector that is going to need help is the sector that I play in more aggressively, and that's office. Because when COVID impacted us, it made us see that we could work remotely and we could work remotely efficiently. So you can't put the genie back in the bottle. But hard mandates can make people go and do things that they would prefer not to do. And some mandates that we're seeing from those who are in the Fortune 500, because they're connected to political sectors, are saying you must come back to the office. Some of you may have been seeing that. We have some friends that are now seeing that jobs are actually going away. There are certain jobs that are out there because of administration saying that they no longer need to be there. So if jobs are going away and a boss say you need to be in the office, I think that you'll have a large amount of people say, I'm going to go to the office because I don't need to lose my job. So that is going to have a positive effect on the sector in which I delve into the most. So holistically, if you're looking at commercial real estate opportunities, it goes back to what we say. Do your homework, find an expert. And to what the fellow panelists have been saying, do not be afraid of what administration is going to do in a way that will prevent you from going out and seeking opportunities to generate active or passive income. We are people of faith.
But I also say, be a person of faith and be a person of knowledge. And allow those two to work together and see the brilliance of God. And I think that why we are here today is magnificent. And I just wish all of you the best. And if I can be a resource, I'm here for you.
Thank you. Thank you. My boss said he has one more question. All right? He wants to ask.
I just want to use my pastoral prerogative. Well, thank you all so much. Great knowledge received today. And Corey, you just almost answered my question. And that is, though we are talking about what, making money while you sleep, what happens when my investment or my money is causing me not to sleep? What kind of faith can I exercise?
Well, the faith that you can exercise is going to be dependent upon how much you view your faith system being the center of the situation. So if you're in a turbulent situation, but your faith was never rooted, then you're going to lose a lot of sleep, right? So whenever you go into anything, I would definitely say you need to first start with faith. We know faith starts at prayer. So make sure you're praying over it and that you're discerning, is this the right thing for me? Taking into consideration the knowledge that we just talked about, your life cycle, your homework, the experts that you're around. That's the knowledge piece of it. But my prayer would be that you would have the faith that says, hey, before I start down this path, I'm going to say, hey, God, you're with me. And as I go, show me what I need to see, that if I don't go in the right direction, you pivot me, you move me. Once you have that, it does not mean that you're not going to see turbulence in commercial real estate. It's going to come up because there are factors that you cannot control. But if you're rooted in that faith, that will help you to see opportunities to pivot or to move or to advance or to exit. Sometimes quitting is not failing. Sometimes quitting is saying, thank you, Jesus, because you kept me from having more heartaches and pains than I needed to. I did not have to bear that cross any longer than I needed to. And so that's why I would say, when you have that type of faith, think about it. If you're investing with me, if we're investing right now and we got that type of faith, what can we not do? Where can we not go? What rooms can we not get into and influence those people to decide that they want to do business with us? Not so much that we need to do business with them, but they want to do business with us. Why? Because they get that feeling when we get in that room and saying, this is what I need to do. And they don't even know why. Those who are believers do. Those who don't, they just say it's feel good. But we know it's the faith that we put at the beginning of this that has us here with this level of confidence. So to your question, it starts with faith. It starts with prayer. It doesn't mean that that's where it ends, though. When you pray, start moving forward. Move forward in knowledge, but make sure you stay rooted in prayer.
That's a great answer, great way to end. Corey, I believe, is everybody's contact information in the book? Okay, so Corey's here local, Renisha's here local. Alex, do you still do business in the state of Georgia? I do. So we can reach Alex. I want to thank, please, let's give him a hand. Thank you very much. Fantastic job. Thank you. A lot of knowledge shared here. Kevin?
That was a fantastic way to end. So thank you all so much to our panel, and even to Bobby, did a pretty good job. Something you said, Corey, actually just took me back to something I meant to talk about before, and when you said it, it really sparked it for me. Alexa Cezell did our prayer this morning. I was in her Bible study class the last 4 weeks, which is called Truth Filled. And one of the things that she talked about in there is moving forward in faith, but asking God to tell me when do I need to turn around. So what you just said basically hits that very same point. And it just made me want to say to everyone here, whether you are a member or not, please come to Bible study and learn the Word, because it will make your life so much better. It will give you that discernment to know when do you need to move, when do you need to stop, when do you need to turn around. So please do that. We have a tremendous Bible study courses here. We have corporate Bible study. Right now we're in small group sessions, so please take advantage of that. One other thing I also want to mention on the point that Renisha was making earlier about Social Security, because I don't know if anybody here is right at that age, but I don't want anybody to panic and say my Social Security is going to evaporate. That's a longer discussion, but just take that into consideration. Yes, there is all kinds of craziness going on, which we have no control over, but don't let that dictate how you're going to operate. Base what you're going to do on what your needs and your situation calls for. I just made a couple of notes from things that the panel said that I wanted to highlight that hopefully will bless you. One of the things we talked about early on was gaining the knowledge, but we're not just gaining knowledge for the sake of knowledge. There was a lady that I used to visit when I was younger, and she always talked about convert your education to cash. The point of all of these things we're talking about is not just so you know the right stuff to do, but now what you have to do is go out and convert it and make it happen. So please take that into consideration and do that. We also talked about being diversified. Being diversified is one of the more important things that you can do financially, because there's risk in most things that you get into. The more diversification you have, the more opportunity you have for something to work, even if something else doesn't. So make sure that you're doing that. And we always talk about having, in terms of passive income, multiple streams of income. Diversification allows you to do that. So again, if something's working or something's not working, something else may be. And then we talked about network. Whether the network is here at the church or elsewhere, all of us have a network, and you want to take advantage of and leverage your network. I will just give a shout out to our Dreamlifters ministry, because that is a lot of what they are involved in, particularly when it comes to the business side of it. They work with entrepreneurs, small business people, and try to help them to improve how they're operating, but also build a network of people that can help them get where they want to go. So again, fantastic job, everybody. Thank you all so much. I'm going to make a few closing remarks. In your program, it says that this section is for Lily Certain. As you can tell, I am not her. I'm much taller. But anyway, I won't belabor that. She was going to talk about our success stories, and in a moment I'm going to ask Carmelita to play the last video, but give me just a second to make a few closing acknowledgments, because you see myself, you see Bobby, you see some other people, but there is so much that's going on behind the scenes, people that you don't see, and we want to thank those people. First of all, I want to thank our pastor, not only for always supporting this ministry, but he's been here all morning. I'm sure he has a lot of things he could be doing, but he's here, so we appreciate you, Pastor. And in the back, kind of out of sight, trying to be incognito, is Reverend Don, our executive pastor, who we kind of fall under, so please give a welcome to Pastor Reverend Don. He makes sure that we're all taken care of, so thank you, sir. For the entire FEC planning team, again, the names are in your booklet, but I want to give some particular recognitions. I just mentioned Lily, Lisa Ezzard. She's also downstairs. They kind of coordinate our engagement and manage the whole registration process. They also coordinate all of our volunteers, so I want to thank them so much for all that they do. Tawana Woods, who you saw earlier, leads our partnerships team, and she is assisted by Nate Howard. He was here last night, but he is being honored at his alma mater today. So want to thank Nate, Deborah Ledbetter, who is here. She does a little bit of everything in addition to being on the partnerships team, and she's been an ambassador for our panelists today. And then my lovely wife, I don't know if she's still in here, Nicole Turner, she's a part of that partnerships team as well. And then in the back, we have Cheryl Epps and Stephanie Taylor, who in addition to doing the virtual moderation today, they have really helped us out with making sure that our technology is operating. I think we may have had our best technology experience at a conference in a while, so thank you all so much. And then we have a few team members who were not able to be here or not able to be as involved this year due to other circumstances. Sean Moore, who was a member of Zion Baptist Church, he was actually here last night, and his team played in the Family Feud game, as well as Linda Pitts. They're also a part of our team, so we thank them, and we hope that they will be able to rejoin us again very soon. And finally, Bobby, partner in crime since 2013. Big brother, appreciate you. So again, in addition to those names, we have a lot of volunteers who I can't name all of them off, but I'm sure they have helped you throughout the day today, whether it was your breakfast, getting you up here, directing you wherever you needed to go. So we thank all of our volunteers. And that really, to me, is the spirit of Turner. We have such a great heart for people and serving people. We hear that consistently whenever we're doing events. People just rave about the fact that we just have loving hearts, because love is actually kind of our key thing. It's part of our core value mission, which is to love God, love God's word, love each other, love our neighbor. We're all about love, and hopefully you have felt that today. I want to also thank our executive assistant, Tara White. She helps us out with behind the scenes things. She helped with our lone out-of-town panelist who needed to get his travel arrangements coordinated, so thank you, Tara. Want to thank the marketing team, Pam Dees and Felicia Lyles, for helping us with all the marketing as well as the logistics and publishing. The video ministry, which is all in the back. I think Vincent, no, he is still there. Vincent Spicer, Carmelita Cavanis, Ronald Brooks, I don't know if he's still here, he was on the camera, and Camille McKinney, she's in the camera on the back. And they're led by Brother Nicholas Booker. And he did, for the virtual audience, one of the videos that you saw during the breakfast period. And then finally, we have Brother Orton Payne, who is our audio ministry leader, who made sure that everything was working properly. So thank you, sir. And I already mentioned Brother Eric, who is sitting up at the front here, who does all of our photo and video work. He's done a fantastic job. Really appreciate you. And lastly, for some of our graphics work, flyers and things of that sort, Taylor Faulkner, who she's not a member of the church, but she was brought to us by Tawana Woods. She's done great work for us the last several years, so we appreciate her as well. After we conclude right here, you will be able to visit with our two sponsors who are present right outside the chapel here. And then downstairs in Fellowship Hall, our panel members are going to be there to speak with you between noon and 1 o'clock. So please take advantage of the opportunity to talk to those folks. And with that, I will bring up Liddy Brown, one of our own, who is, excuse me. Oh, okay, sorry. I forgot to mention Will, who also is doing photography, I guess doing it on behalf of Turner Chapel. Eric is doing it more so specifically for the ministry, so thank you, Will. And so now I'm going to bring up Liddy Brown, who is a two-time author now. Her most recent book is now available. She will be also downstairs in Fellowship Hall after this, so if you want to talk to her and maybe purchase a book, I'm sure she would be glad to help you out there. But she's going to do a short presentation on the importance of giving, which is one of the focuses of her book, and then she's going to close us out in prayer. So again, thank you everyone for coming. We hope that you have gained a lot out of today, and we hope to see you at future events. Sorry, I forgot the video. So Carmelita, you can go ahead and cue up that success story video, and then Liddy will come after that.
We are so glad you are attending this year's Financial Empowerment Conference, and we hope you've now started thinking about what you can do to benefit from making money while you sleep. Most of us trade our time to earn money to live during our working years, but wouldn't it be nice?
I've been attending the financial empowerment workshops for as long as you guys have been having them over these 18 years. In 2020, I started my business January of 2020. And a little bit about my background. I am in public health. I have a master's in public health. I've been working in public health. I used to work for Georgia Department of Public Health. Then I moved on to work for FDA, the Food and Drug Administration. So I've been in public health my whole career. I left Pfizer in June of 2020. And my friends were the ones encouraging me, saying, you have your experience from FDA, you have your experience from Pfizer, you would do well being a consultant in the field. And Reverend Bright held like a fasting in September. And I participated in the fasting. And by the end of the fast, I developed my website and I pressed send. And by the end of December, I had 3 contracts that I was working in, and I had clients. Things that I've learned from being a participant of the financial empowerment is to make sure your business is registered with the state of Georgia. I also have applied for loans. If your financials are not together, you can't get the loans. I take the financial empowerment workshop very seriously because it does help me plan for the future. I also use the financial empowerment workshop to help me with real estate. I am a homeowner. I have other houses. I used to be a landlord, and the information that you get in terms of how to own a home, what your financials need to look like to own a home, and then how you could use home ownership to get other properties. That's also something that I learned at the Financial Empowerment Workshop. Yeah, you guys plant the seed, so if I heard of it maybe somewhere else, you said it again, because you know you have to hear things multiple times sometimes before you take action. So that's why it's good to attend these, and then you have real life individuals who are working in that field that can, you know, give you pearls of wisdom to help you along your journey.
Sorry, I forgot one other thing. I mentioned it earlier, but I did want to repeat it. Please, please, please fill out the evaluation so we can get feedback, what was good, what we need to improve upon, whether you do it physically. If you do, again, turn it in at the registration table, or you can fill it out online. So please do that for us, and with that, I will bring up Liddy to close us out.
Thank you so much. First of all, I praise God for this opportunity and this day and for all that we have learned. And I praise God for our pastor who's always leading us in the direction God wants us to go. Thank you, Bobby and Kevin, for the opportunity for me to share When I think about financial growth and financial investment, the Lord told me a few years ago to talk about giving. One of my spiritual gifts is giving, and I am not a writer, but the Lord has blessed me to be able to write 2 books. This is on giving, an issue of the heart. Giving is about your heart and where you are. We talk about money, we make money. I'm a firm believer in making money, but it's because God says give it, and he will give it to you. Good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over. And when we think about all that we've learned today, when you wake up that next morning, what are you doing? Are you giving of yourself? Are you giving of the value, the money that God gave you as members of church? Are we tithing our money? Are we giving back to God what God has given us? And so I wrote this book based on my mom teaching us how to give. That's where heart comes from. That's heart feel. And it means to find your own E in heart, where your own energy, your own enthusiasm, your own effort, but heart is about what you do. And so I talk about why you give, being a good receiver of good gifts. Do I receive well from somebody that's given to me just as much as I give out? And then I talk about what's the right time to give and not to give, understanding giving. Where is your heart? And then what to give. We all may not have finances, but we have time, talent, and treasures that we talk about even here every third Sunday. But I believe that this book is a blessing to anyone who says, okay, I want to be a better giver. I asked God years ago that when they taught me about tithing, you give back 10%. And so I always look at it from the opposite. If I want to give $1,000, help me, Lord, to make the $10,000. If I want to give $10,000, then help me to make the $100,000. Versus a lot of times we look at giving just the opposite. Oh, I got to take out what I have. God owns everything. And I talk about how do I then take and put in my heart what God wants me to give back out. And the last thing I leave you with is fear is what holds us back when we give, when we make money. The last question that we asked, it's all about fear. When you wake up in the middle of the night and can't sleep, ask the Lord what it is he wants you to do for somebody else, to get your mind away from your fear and to back on God. And so I pray that anybody who, I will be downstairs to talk about it if anybody wants to purchase. The books went way up. It's $24.95, but I'm selling the books for $20. If you don't have 20 and you want one, just come see me and we'll work out a price. How's that? So at this point, let me ask you all, we will go to the Lord in prayer and close out. Thank you, panel, for a beautiful, beautiful job. Father God in heaven, we come this afternoon, dear Father, just thanking you, God, for always being in the midst of the work that you have us to do, dear Master. We thank you, Lord, for the panel that we've had, for the gifts that they have imparted upon us, the knowledge that you have given them, dear Master. And we pray, Lord, that you will grant them favor in all that they say and that they do as they lead their businesses, dear Master. Father, we thank you for everyone who attended, everyone who's listening, everyone who wanted to be but wants to go back and hear, that they will glean some knowledge, dear Father, that they know that you are directing them in the right path. We thank you, God, for our church. We thank you, God, for the love and the fellowship and the connections that we make here. You brought us here for a reason, dear Master, and we just thank you for allowing us to come together, to support each other, to do what you would have us to do to advance the kingdom of heaven, dear Master. We thank you, Lord, for all of those who worked and supported this effort, for the heart that they had to be involved and to continue to be a blessing. We pray now for what we do as we leave this place, that we don't sit on the knowledge that we've learned, that we actively take the words that we've heard and give that some thought and actually work on those. Help us to remove any fear, any doubt. Lord, we know that there's government that's doing their thing, but we know you are always in charge. And we pray, dear Father, that you will continue to keep your hedge of protection around us, each and every one of us individually. For those who have lost their jobs, we know that you have something even greater. Allow us to be a help, dear Father, for those who may need help. We thank you right now for what we have to do. We pray right now for our service tomorrow, dear Father, the beginning of March, another month that we've been allowed to see. And we thank you right now for what you will do on that day also. Bless everyone as they leave this place, as they return home safely. In the precious and powerful and peaceful name we pray. Amen.
All right, that is all. So if you would take time to see our sponsors, our panel members as they go downstairs, give them a moment to have a little lunch, and then we will continue till 1 o'clock. Thank you.
I have a question.